that I may see glimpses of truth thou hast for me. Open mine eyes, illumine me, Spirit divine. Love of my life, I am crying, I am not dying, I am dancing, dancing along in the madness. There is no sadness, only a song of the soul, and we'll sing this song. Why don't you sing along, and we can sing for a long, long time. Why don't you sing this song? Why don't you sing along, and we can sing for a long, long time. What do you do for your living? Are you forgiving, giving shelter? Follow your heart, love will find you, truth will unbind you. Seek out a song of the soul, and we'll sing this song. Why don't you sing along, and we can sing for a long, long time. Why don't you sing this song? Why don't you sing along, and we can sing for a long, long time. What do you do for your living? Oh.
It's sloppy. It's sloppy, and we got some weird.
It's sounding a little sloppy and a little weird. There's some weird harmonies going on and things. So let's not get too fancy, okay?
Well, one, it felt like summer camp in a way to go over. I mean, everybody was having a really good time, and here were all these gals singing together and having fun, and that felt nice. It also felt very courageous and brave that they were all in there trying to literally figure out how to do it, and they didn't know, and now they do. Now they do.
Sadness in her eyes, she sees the folks, the loneliness cannot move the stars, but the tender lady reads messages like ours. Tell me, have you something to ease her pain? Why not give her happiness and peace again? Music, oh sweet melody, won't you draw her close to you and comfort her? Yes, comfort her. Please comfort her for me.
Well, it became very obvious to me through experience from going on the road that this was an album, a person, and a body of music that was in the right place at the right time. You know, it was a gift. Totally. It wasn't just Chris. You know, it was, you know, the feminine principle coming out through music. I've been waiting thousands of years to say these things. And Chris was the vehicle, you know, the music was the medium. And the society, all these women whose lives were being magnetized by and through it, played a very important part, and they called it in a very large way, you know. So we were in it together, and when I realized that, it was very powerful for me. You know, it was empowering, and I still draw strength from that. You know, I wish everybody could know really what that was like. You know, I run into people now who say, well, didn't you used to play with somebody, you know, back then? Didn't I see you play with someone? It's so vague. It's like, well, what really happened then?
What's true about the early part of women's music is that there was no distinction between the personal, the professional, the artistic, and the political. It was all the same. It was all the same. Our guts, our hearts, our minds were all out there on the stage at the same time. There's no distinction at all, which is what made it so powerful and what made it transitory.
It was so much more. I mean, the music was almost incidental after a point. You know, we wanted it to be great and wonderful, but there was this incredible sense of family and community and creating and the great adventure. That's what it was, the great adventure.
Hello, hooray, let the show begin. I'm ready. Hello, hooray, let the lights grow dim. We've all been ready. Ready for the rain to fall, just to fall again. Ready for a woman to be born, only to be born again and again and again and again and again. Hello, hooray, let the show begin. I'm ready. Hello, hooray, let the lights grow dim. We've been ready. Ready for the rain to fall, just to fall again. Ready for a woman to be born, only to be born again.
used to go through record bins as a hobby. And I actually had this goal that I wanted to collect every single album of women's music that ever existed. And that meant any record by a woman singer. I figured it wouldn't be too hard to collect them all because, you know, as we all know, there weren't many at the time. And one day I was going through a bin, and there was this person, Chris, whom I'd never heard of, and I thought she looked kind of interesting, particularly the one on the back, you know. She was standing in the ocean looking tough. And I took it home and went nuts over it. It was so wonderful. I remember thinking, what a voice. I had never heard a voice like that. So I immediately learned everything on the album and started performing it in clubs around town. And so everybody who would come hear me started learning the songs too.
When I first went to Washington, D.C., I started playing, I guess, Joanna or something from the Epic Song. I didn't know anybody there, you know, so I was playing in the theater. Then I was being the stranger in town, the mysterious stranger. And I started playing and applause broke out. And it so startled me because all of a sudden it's as though you realize people know you. And I didn't know anybody, I thought. Well, I got so startled I forgot all the words to my song. And Meg and everybody, all of you who had learned my music, said the lines back to me. Yeah.
I got to know Meg Christian and Ginny Burson, who were women who were very extremely involved in politics. And I had no political language, no political consciousness, except kind of instinctively, but not so as I could talk about it or anything. I was real frightened of it, because I didn't know what it had to do with spirituality and my flying and my wings and all those things. And I would talk about wings and things to them, and they would just have to go in the kitchen and go, who is he? We tell these stories to us later about our initial scene of meeting, you know, and how it looked from their side and how it looked from my side. They thought I was the strangest woman they'd ever met. And I indeed thought they were too. And before I left town, they did an interview. The Women's Radio Collective did an interview, and I said, well, why don't you start a women's record company? And then I left town. And they did, the next day.
I was about to go to law school. And I was very happy to be going to law school. And suddenly I get a call from Ginny Burson, who said, Judy, come on over, we've got the idea we've all been waiting for, because there were a group of us who wanted to work together, and we had strong political beliefs, and we really wanted to work together. So we've been looking for an idea. And I get to Meg and Ginny's house, and Ginny says, Chris Williamson came up with this great idea, a national women's recording company. And I looked at them and I thought, they were crazy. What do you mean? A national, we don't know anything about this. And she said, no, listen. And they started to talk about it. And it was, within 10 minutes, I was absolutely convinced to quit the idea of law school and dedicate the rest of my life to making this a reality. I had no doubt in my mind that it was a wonderful idea and that we would be able to do something very special and that would make a difference in many, many lives. So it was irresistible even at that moment.
Pack up and drive across the country. Why not? We thought we could do it. I mean, it's one of those things, Judy, if we had any idea at the time of what it meant to start a record company, of what we would have to know, of what we would have to deal with, of how totally impossible it was, we never would have done it. Because you can't, it's one of those things that if you have a clue about what's involved, you will think this is impossible, it can't be done. Because it can't be done. But as long as you don't know that it can't be done, you can do it. And that's what we did.
I love to see you in the lowland love. Touch the secret we moved in the fire. Let's burn together all through the night. I'm just daydream child of desire. Yeah, I'm just daydream child of we went on this big, long airplane ride to this first National Women's Music Festival, which was, you know, basically a bunch of people milling around going, what do we do now? Oh, God. But we were all there, and it was very exciting to be around so many people who were doing things, you know, and it was, I mean, at the time it was just, nobody really knew anything. Nobody knew how to do anything or where anything went, and everybody was really, like, totally, like freaked out and panicked, and, you know. But it was fun anyway, you know. And I think I performed with Margie, and Chris did a set, and I think they just like fell in love. That was it, and bye, see ya.
We began to trade songs, and she played a song, and then I would play a song, and then she would play a song, and then I would play a song. And there was a point where we both felt comfortable enough so that I said, well, now here's a song that I performed, but the audience doesn't seem to respond to it. I really love this song, but the audience doesn't seem to get it. Whenever I perform it, it's like they just kind of sit on their hands, or there's kind of a smattering of applause, but I don't know. I don't exactly get why they don't get it. And I played Beautiful Soul. And she said, oh, well, the reason they don't applaud is because that's really not the appropriate response to that song. It's really a beautiful, beautiful song. And then she said, you know, there's a song that I have that I have actually had some similar experience with. And she played Waterfall. And I said, God, I just think that's an incredible song, you know, and I don't know what they're doing out there, but, you know, I think we should both keep these songs in because they're really beautiful, and that's what we did. And you're a beautiful soul. We were singing into each other's faces. It was so intense. And when Meg came into what Chris and I were already doing, it just became that much more intense. And we were crazy about each other. All three of us were just in a swoon about each other. And it was in the music.
The main thing I remember is just how exhilarating everything was, because it felt so pioneering. We were all so excited about one another's music, and that we got to sing it together was, at least it was something that I had done very little of in my life. I was so hungry for musicians that I could really work with in an exciting kind of sharing, mutually admiring and stimulating way. There had been none of that for me. And it was just like, wow, it was like a new world. It meant so much.
This is for all of you who have been so supportive. Meg Christian made this whole thing up. She really did. And we're glad she did. I didn't know this was to be my fate. I really didn't. I just was one foot in front of the other down the path. And when I looked out my door, there was a line of women stretching around the block. Okay, I said. All right, then. For years, I think I felt a lot of times, and I think that this is true of a lot of artists, that we were like a polished precious stone that lay by the roadside, and people passed us by and would look and go, oh yeah, uh-huh. And then finally, like for me, in my case, Meg came by and picked me up and said, oh, this is useful. This is pretty. This is nice. I know someone who can use this. And she gave my music to women in Washington, D.C., and they learned my music and made me a writer beyond the diary of my life. And I'll owe her forever for that. And I thank you, Meg. I know you're out there. And maybe one day we'll see her again. She's very precious. And she had a great idea that when women did things, they did it just a little bit differently, and that it would be useful for the world. Sweet woman, rising inside my door, I think I'm missing you. Singing to me them soft words, take on me to your secret. Letting me know, taking me in, you let it all go. Let it all go. You're the one surrounding me this night, staring at me. You're the one surrounding me, just won't let me be, just won't let me be. A little passage of time till I hold you and you'll be my sweet woman, rising so fine. A little passage of time till I hold you and you'll be my sweet woman, rising so fine. Surrounding me this night, staring at me. Oh, surrounding me, just won't let me be, just won't let me be. A little passage of time till I hold you and you'll be my sweet woman, rising so fine. A little passage of time till I hold you and you'll be my sweet woman, rising so fine. A little passage of time till I hold you and you'll be my sweet woman, rising so fine, rising so fine, rising so fine. Ooh, sweet woman.
first time I heard Chris's music, it was like hearing honey dripped on a cello for me. I mean, that's what I always think of her as, is some kind of really warm, there was a real womanliness about her, even though we were in our 20s when I heard her voice. And I'd heard about the legend of Chris Williamson, and then when I heard her music, I just was so touched and continue to be by her soulfulness. And she doesn't pull any punches. She's just right there. And the times when I recorded on her album, and I want to always acknowledge that she was really the first person who asked me to play guitar and to recognize my musicianship, because I had sung on people's records before, and in fact played guitar on the Pointer Sisters record. But to be included in Chris's projects, which are so evolved in terms of where women, accepting where women already should be, you know, it was like a beacon for being able to have women engineers and producers and musicians. I felt right at home. So we all needed heroes, and Chris has been a lot of women's heroes for a long time, including mine.
I remember one very funny experience. I was sitting in a car, having just been to a festival. I was going back home with people I didn't know, and seated in the back seat with two women I hadn't before met. And one woman said, just sort of musing to herself, "Oh, I love Chris's music so much." She'd just heard it at the festival. And she was obviously in a reverie. You could hear it going through her own mind. The woman on the other side of me said, "Oh, yeah, but she's just too spiritual. I like Holly Near because she's really political." And then the other woman said, "Well, but if you're that political, then you're not." And so these two women had this big fight about politics and spirituality, and they were pinning it on Holly Near and Chris Williamson. So somehow between these two women, Holly and Chris became the personification of the political approach to life and music and the spiritual approach to life and music, and each of them had dozens of reasons why the other one had it all wrong. And I thought, oh my gosh, it must be so difficult to be so visible, to be so front stage in this movement, and to have people having fights with each other about something that doesn't have to do with you really, but this idea that you are the spiritual goddess head, and that you are the political goddess head, or whatever the equivalent would be to that, and that somehow you each have to symbolize these two forces that somehow have to be seen as adversarial and as in opposition, as if they shouldn't somehow be informing one another, which of course they were doing.
Well, it was very ironic, I think, that probably Chris and I should meet when I was in one of my most obnoxiously radical phases, to the point where I had absolutely no tolerance for anybody who had even one tiny little different opinion from mine. And of course, here came Chris flying in the door on wings of whatever. And I wanted to be her friend so much that, and she didn't fit into any of my rules for appropriate living. And it was so frustrating to me because I had to suspend those damn rules because otherwise I couldn't relate to Chris. But, you know, every once in a while I would try to indoctrinate her in one way or another. Because she, of course, was overreacting in the opposite direction. And I really do believe that the more political I got, the more out there she got. And so we were just like this, you know. So it was a great thing because there was the music, and the music mattered so much that we both had to just give up something in order to do the music. And it was good for us. It was very good for us, but it was surely was frustrating. It surely was.
Bringing us together in a natural way, to be looking for the way to say, I want to be your good friend. I want to be your good friend. I want to be your good
watching Chris come in from out of town, and Margie come in from out of town, and Ned come together in such belief and such love, whether everyone understood each other perfectly was really not the issue, because there was a sense of humor and a love there that transcended difference. And so beautiful things took place out of that. And I saw that happen first on I Know You Know. And then on The Changer, we almost had to transcend even further, because in some ways it was a very difficult time. I mean, it wasn't a time when everyone was the happiest they've ever been. It was really a time of difficulty for many of us. And I think Chris in particular, this was not an easy time. I think part of the wonder of The Changes is the expression of some of the pain and some of the difficulties of that time. I don't think that that's missing from that record. And I think that a lot of people related to that sense of pain and self-healing and belief that there is a light at the end of that tunnel.
Go back into the darkness, like the wild thing that you are. Your teeth are far too sharp, my love. I'm afraid you go too far. I'm sure
you girls had to go at it such a hard way. You know, you had so much to fight, to overcome that. And I know that you know, I was so glad that you formed Olivia, that you could do this, because she had so much, she sang in some of the most horrible places trying to get ahead.
We knew what we wanted, and we hoped we knew how to get there, and we'd sort of like go along doing what seemed like good, you know, but it wasn't like, I didn't feel like we had that sort of confident predictability that we had this thing under control. I felt like we were like this little ship on a big ocean, you know, sort of like being carried along by this wonderful music and Chris that we all just loved, you know. And
I think we all had a lot of faith in her talent.
yeah,
You know, because she, you know, we were all very moved, I think, by her talent and by her person, and I think that helped.
But how can this?
It was like, we love this. If we love this much, it has to be good. You know, I think.
So I didn't know how to be halfway about any of this. I went in, just plunged in to the water. They said, here it is, go in there and swim and show us how to. You think I've had a little more experience than anybody here. I looked around, I had zip, you know, I didn't have any experience. Somebody had done that for me. But I said, okay, I'll do what I can. You'll tell me if it's good, probably.
My job was to make sure that everything ran smoothly and on time, in budget. And so the first thing that happened was we went into the studio and Chris went in and did these, she said, okay, now I'm going to lay down my basic tracks. And she went in and she played piano and she did her vocals at the same time, sometimes not at the same time, but ran through the whole 10 songs. And she said, okay, good, that's that. 1 take, 2 take maximum, and that was it. So by the end of the first 2 days, I thought we were almost done. Oh gosh, we're on budget. Well, around that time, just as I was celebrating how lucky we were, I get a call from Chris. And this is maybe the first of those many calls that we've done over the years. Judy, I have to talk to you about something. It was called. And he said, you know what? I can't make my album this way. I really want to have a rhythm section. And I said, oh. He said, please, give me 1 week, just 1 week. We'll have it ready in that week, but please give me a week. I'm going to put together a drummer, bass player, guitar player, and we'll have a rhythm section, I promise. I promise you won't be disappointed. I just remember this conversation so well.
The end of the first phrase where you just pick up the E.
Now, tempo-wise.
things that we did on that record that are so difficult for people to do. There are musical things that are so difficult for people to do. I mean, you know, I work with a lot of like high-paid singers who can't work that way, who can't blend that way in the studio, who can't match each other's vocal sounds, who can't make something sound like that, and then also convey, you know, the feeling and convey the there's something spiritual happening there, you know. There's something incredibly spiritual, I think, happening. And for us to be able to do all of that in the studio, I mean, you know, we didn't do things like record separate tracks, you know, and you know, we just stood in there and did it, you know. We stood around a mic and gauged our sound, you know, ourselves, and blended ourselves in the room. And, you know, like all these barbarian, like, you know, techniques, these Neanderthal techniques that no one does anymore, you know. It was true art, you know.
There was all this lush, wonderful music, and there was so much silliness. I loved the silliness. It was, I don't know. It's amazing how silly everybody was through most of the time that we made that album. First goal of Olivia Records is to get the music out. Second goal of Olivia Records...
What music?
Women's music. High quality women's music. Music that speaks honestly and realistically to women, about women's lives. To women's lives. For women's lives. Right. The second goal of Olivia Records is to... What is it? To provide women musician access to the recording industry. The third goal of Olivia Records is to provide training in technical and related fields to the recording industries. This means bookkeeping as well as engineering, cooking, and cleaning house, vacuuming, and instructions on how to jiggle the John. The fourth goal of Olivia Records is to provide decent paying jobs for women.
For billions of women.
For millions of women.
You know,
billions of women.
In our pressing plants that we own, in our mastering labs that we own.
We didn't really know what would happen when we released this record, and it was incredible what happened, because instantly we saw this reaction that we had. I mean, we had seen reaction to Meg's album, and we knew that we were onto something. But Meg's album had only been out 6 months when we did the changer. And so we had started to see that, yes, this is going to be more than we had ever thought possible. But when we put out the changer, I think the combination of Meg's album having come out, the changer coming out, and then this first series of concerts, which was taking place with Meg and Margie and Chris and Holly, Women on Wheels, it was called. It catapulted what had been audiences of 200 and 300 people into literally thousands of people. The letters would say, I thought I was all alone in whatever it was, in being a lesbian, in being a strong, independent woman, in being a man who had just lost his best friend, or families that have been have had someone sick in the family, or just endless streams of people who needed support or needed healing, finding this record and saying it had made a tremendous difference. It had made such an impact.
Back in 1978, I'd been working on the railroad as a locomotive engineer for about 4 years, and I was the only woman out there, and I was desperate to hook into women's community. So I heard about a gathering of other women on another railroad, and so I invited myself, and from there I was invited to another person's house, and they put on Chris Williamson, The Changer and the Change, and I had never heard women's music. Women's music to me was Pat Benatar. So I heard the album, I ran right out and bought my own copy and memorized it, and when I was on the railroad, I'd be running trains down the valley, totally lonely and desperate, and Changer and the Change would go through my head, and it's what kept me sane for years out there.
During my years in the convent, the song Sister, Lean on Me, I Am Your Sister, was quite emblematic for myself and our group, and I think we experienced a great deal of bonding as a result of singing that song together. And now that I am out and out, I feel as though the song has even more and deeper meaning and good memories for me.
I'm only 27, and I first heard Chris Williamson when I was about 12 years old, and she really was a lot of strength for my life. And when I was a child, we had a really difficult time, and my parents were breaking up, and we used to just listen to The Changer and the Change and just cry, and my sister and I were so close during this period, and it really brought us together listening to this music. And the song Sister was probably one of our favorite songs, and we just really love to see Chris Williamson now. Thank you.
I was 16 years old when I first heard The Changer, and it was kind of at a time in my life where I really didn't know what was going on, and it gave me a sense of belonging. And still now, even 11 years later, anytime things go wrong, I just pray to God it rains.
Sometimes it takes a rainy day just to let you know everything's gonna be alright. I know right.
is right up there among the classic pieces of art, of culture, of music, of politics, of soul, of heart that help people in unimaginable ways deal with a time that we hadn't experienced before. And I hate to even identify what that time is because people felt it in a lot of different ways. But there was something happening in the 70s for women that will, if we let them, be completely ignored and left out of history by mainstream male-dominated historians. You hear most of the male representatives of culture say the 60s is really when things were happening, and then the 70s and 80s were dead. But I think that's because women rose to a sense of self-value and appreciation in the 70s and developed a cultural phenomenon that men weren't in the middle of. So they don't think it happened. If they didn't lead it, direct it, own it, profit from it, control it, they think it didn't exist. And so, because they're in charge of the media, they will tell us nothing happened in the 70s.
Even though I was on a major label that wasn't connected with women's music, there was still enough intersection in the political arena where I got to see how difficult it was and how brave people were for sticking to their guns about using women engineers and producers. And, you know, it's especially in these days of such conservatism and greed and materialism in the music business, it's really great to have those venues still available to people. And I don't think there would be Tracy Chapman and Michelle Schacht if there hadn't been people that were ready to thumb their nose at the rest of the industry.
The response was overwhelmingly positive. It was overwhelmingly loving. It was, you know, people just sent us, they sent love letters to an anonymous collective of women, as well as to the individual artists. They sent money. They became distributors without, the most basic idea of what does it mean. I mean, I would hire somebody to be a distributor, and then she would say, okay, now what does it mean? It's like, why are you doing this? Because I love what you're doing, and I want to be a part of it, and I want to help. So, I mean, it was glorious. It was.
It would be fun to do it again and see how it would be different, because that's what I'd like to see be more wonderful, is to make the music even better, because we were going mostly on a tremendous amount of excitement and that sense of mission, and it was such great music. I don't listen to popular music the way I used to, but I can't find songs like that. I don't hear songs like that. Born of the earth, child of God, just one among family. And you can count on me to share the load, and
God, that's pretty. Like a ship in the heart, like a mother and child, like a mother and child, like a light in the dark, like a light in the dark. Yeah, I'll hold you a while, I'll hold you a while. We'll rock on the water, we'll rock on the water. I'll cradle your feet, I'll cradle your feet, and hold you while angels sing to sleep, and hold you while angels sing you to sleep. Like a ship, like a mother and child, like a light. So much and good night, bye. Thank you. Susan Freundlich. Yourselves, I love you so much. You're my life.